What's the most broken item in ESO? The lockpicks. What's going on, YouTube? I've noticed for a long time now that a lot of people like to ask questions about ESO's classes, but it's usually not which one is the best. It's which one feels the best for me. So today we're doing more of a personality test type video because at the end of the day, we have so many tier lists as is of these are the best classes for PvP right now. And realistically, those are going to ebb and flow with the meta. But for example, whether or not you feel is more of a sorcerer type play style, like the sling magic, or maybe you want to be more of a stealthy rogue, that's going to depend solely on the class. And whether or not you want to invest into that, it's going to be up to you and your personality. So we're going to break down these classes and how they may fit within your play styles, and if you may enjoy them based on other types of content, other types of RPG games, DLCs that have existed in the Elder Scrolls universe. Now let's break it all down. And in no particular order, we're going to start with the Nightblade. The Nightblade is the easiest one to grasp if you've never played ESO before because it's basically the rogue. If you've ever played any rogue game before, if you've ever seen anything D&D related, RPG related, the rogue ranger stereotype fits perfectly into the Nightblade. Now the Nightblade does also use some illusion magic, but that's really just to be able to go invisible. So it just takes the stealth archer to the extreme, being able to go invisible for both its PvP and PvE utilization now. It excels at being able to pop in and out of the vision of your enemies, and especially for PvP, it excels at using long-ranged weapons, but also too, you can use your ability for illusions to go in and out of people's vision and whack them up close as well for PvP. So if this type of play style really excites you, the Nightblade is the one to go with. Also, if you think that you're going to get into ESO and you really like stealing, if you like looting, you know, the overworld, this is also a fantastic option for you as well. Next up is the Sorcerer. Now, Sorcerers are pretty cool, and they're your generic magicka users. Now you can see here that they say that they mostly focus on destructive spells, and I would say that's pretty accurate to sorcerers as well. But if you haven't played ESO yet, you may not know that sorcerers are also masters of mobility, being able to teleport short distances. They're also masters of lightning magic, which is great for solo play because a lot of lightning-based abilities are great. They're easy to pilot. They've got great spammables. They also have built-in shields, executes. Executes are when, hey, this enemy is low on health. You do even higher damage to them, which is great because in PvP, it makes finishing people off a lot easier. So when it comes to a sorcerer and whether or not you should be a sorcerer, you want to think to yourself, do you enjoy magic? That's very reminiscent of your traditional destruction lines. You're also going to see a bit of conjuration. Most of the time, people don't use the conjuration aspect anymore because the pets have been kind of put to the wayside for most builds, but you can also use Daedric companions to assist you as well, such as Clan Fear, a Twilight Matriarch, which can also be very cool. You can have things such as a Scamp, which is also pretty unique when it comes to the Sorcerer class versus a lot of the others. So if you really find a lot of love for destruction, notably its most powerful destruction line is going to be based around lightning, or if you really want to get into summoning, the Sorcerer is the one to go for. And even in high-end PvE content, you still can run a pet sorcerer. It's a bit frowned upon because sometimes your Daedric companions might be running around and attacking the wrong thing, but you can still parse pretty high with a sorcerer. And parsing is when you deal as much damage to a dummy in as short amount of time as possible, and then you get basically a DPS score, which is how much damage you were doing every second. So the sorcerer is pretty good for that. Next up is the Dragonknight. Now, unfortunately, the Dragonknight does not have the Thuum from Skyrim. You're not really a Dragonborn per se, you're just a Dragon Knight. Now, the Dragonknight focuses a lot on other types of dragon skills, so instead of Thuuming and Fusro dying, instead you're doing things like lava whips, you're making corrosive armor around yourself, you're breathing fire on your enemies, so you can still do some pretty cool stuff. But it's not directly as related to the dragons that you would see inside of Skyrim. Now, the Dragonknight is kind of a mixture between kind of a barbarian class, but also a fire mage that's enhancing all their abilities with dragon fiery magic mixed with barbarianism. So it's an interesting hodgepodge of things thrown together. But if you thought the idea of whipping your enemies with a lava whip, breathing fire on them, or doing all sorts of cool other fire stuff, or earth magic, if you want to do some things that make you feel like a bit like an earthbender from Avatar, then the Dragonknight is for you. Now, the Templar is another easy one to know. You may not know this from its tropes if you haven't done certain games. A lot of games have Templars, basically Moon Knight as paladins, and that's basically what it is. If you enjoyed the Knights of the Nine DLC in Oblivion, if you think paladins are cool, if you wanted to use the power of the sun, but more so not necessarily the fire of the sun in the sense, but more like the burning, fiery, holy light of the sun, then this is the class for you. They also have the ability to deal damage and restore health and magicka, and also stamina, and give buffs to their allies. So they're very big on the kind of support paladin-esque side of when it comes to combat. Templars are also one of the easiest classes to pilot. They have one of the easiest rotations. What's a rotation, Jake? It's basically just like, these are the buttons that you press in quick succession, and this is how good you have to be with your timing at the higher end of all different types of content. Templars are notoriously easy for their rotational skills. They're very easy to pilot, and they're pretty easy to understand conceptually. If you've always wanted to be that guy that buffs his enemies, deals holy lights, and wants to go out and slay Daedra, demons, vampires, werewolves, Templar is a really good option for you. Now, the Warden class is actually pretty interesting because the Wardens are masters of nature magic. So a lot of people think druids, but they're not druids in the sense that you can shapeshift into like a bear, like in a lot of other franchises. They're more like wardens, like game wardens, like in America, where they walk around and they're like, can I see your fishing license there, sir? And they wield the power of nature. So if you don't turn over your fishing license, you like whack them with a bunch of mushrooms or animals. Like you just throw like a pocket bat at them, That's kind of what I would imagine. Think more like game warden versus druid, but there's definitely a bit of flavor of the druids. If you thought to yourself, man, druids are pretty cool, but I also really like frost magic and the ability to also deal with a bunch of creatures, like having a bear companion, being able to just summon beetles from the earth and wax kids, then the Warden is the one to go for. Next up, we have Necromancer. Does anyone need an introduction to the Necromancer? Did you know that they focus a lot on corpses and undead thralls and ghostly magic? Who could have predicted such a thing? Now, Necromancer is very thematic to Necromancers of every other franchise that you've watched in the entirety of your life, but they are also pretty decent for support. They do also make some pretty beefy PvP and PvE characters. They're decently sought after. They're also pretty good werewolves by the passive buffs that they give. Now, I've not mentioned which classes are good necessarily for werewolves and vampires because it's not super relevant, because generally it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I'm just mentioning it here to kind of pad the runtime of talking about Necromancers just because they're so generic. I will also note too that using necromancy in town is also illegal and can get you in trouble depending on what you're doing. So just be a bit careful where you summon your undead people, but thankfully you're not going to be really fighting in the towns anyway to annoy the guards. So if you really like dead people, resurrection, having allies that kind of follow you around, deal damage, not necessarily like Daedric companions, like little Daedric monsters like the Sorcerer has, not like Brother Bear like the Warden has. These are just kind of like dead people. If you want to be able to do that, then the Necromancer is for you. And we're saving the coolest for last because it's the Arcanist. Now, a lot of people are like, what is an Arcanist? And I was one of those people, but think of like a warlock, right? So warlocks generally in fantasy, they have like a patron deity, right? Except your patron deity is Hermaeus Mora, who's like the tentacly apocrypha-esque knowledge, but also eldritch horror type Daedric prince. So basically, you're kind of like a sorcerer, but all of your magic is attuned to your patron, who is Hermaeus Mora. And that's probably the easiest way to describe it. So if you want to like throw tentacles at people and deal with a lot of like cool, like forbidden knowledge and magic and that type of thing, and you want to just be able to whip spells at people in a very cool way, then definitely the Arcanist is the one for you to go. They're also pretty powerful, and I also like that in a lot of the newer classes, because Arcanist is the most recent addition, the skill lines, you have 3 skill lines when you start on any of these bad boys. It's broken down. This is your damage one, this is your healing one, and this is your tanking one. It doesn't say it outright, but once you read it, you're like, oh, well, here's all the heals are on this one. Well, the damage is on this one. So I like how they're making it a bit more user-friendly. So the Arcanist is not only cool from a Warlock perspective, it is also cool from just a general ease of access, ease to start into design as well. And they also pretty well excel at most types of things. But again, you know, everything's going to ebb and flow. Patches will come out, changes will happen. This is not a, this is the best class video, because I could do that and then I had to update it. And I do make those videos anyway. This is just thematically, again, what do I think is going to be cool for you? And also too, put in the comments below and say, Jake, this is kind of what I usually play in an RPG, and I can also best assist you in finding that perfect class for you as well. And I have to show you guys this because we made this on stream when I was trying to figure out like, hey, how could we like break down what should new players be as their first starter class? This is what chat came up with. Do you want to command nature? Warden. Do you want to play a rogue? Nightblade. Do you think paladins are cool? Templar. Do you like sorcerers? Sorcerer. Do you like to fondle corpses? Necromancer. Do you like Cthulhu? Arcanist. Is fire cool? Dragonknight. So this is what chat came up with. It's pretty thematic to everything we talked about. So if you need to reference this, this could be your flowchart on which class is perfect for you. But everyone, thank you guys so much again for watching. This has been our which thematic class is right for you. And feel free to put in the comments below which thematic class you are. And also too, if you're new, you could tell us a bit about, you know, how do you like to play the games? Do you like to be up close? Do you like to be far away? Do you like stealth? Do you hate stealth? Do you like fire? Do you like ice magic, lightning magic, nature, poison? Feel free to tell us anything, and we can also best assist you in which class we think is right for you, and put those in the comments below, because as always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. As always, all you need to do to enter is just leave comments below, not only by helping people find their original class, we will also be working towards entering that drawing. Second thing is just make sure you subscribe/follow on Twitch and Twitter. And the third thing is look for a hidden word to be flashed upon the screen. You guys did find the word that was posted 2 days ago, but January will have its own word as well. So thank you guys again. I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.